A few. Okay. So, Rick, will you hand me
Heidi.
clicker that's right there?
Heidi. Here.
How many of you think you're going to be aging in place?
Me.
Guess what? You're in the right spot. That's what we're going to talk about today. So I'm glad to have you here. So on one, it should have been the first flyer was the form feedback form. It's yellow. So there's another form in there, or sheet in there, that's 10 steps to aging in place. And one of the things we found is that there's a lot of things that you should be aware of. So the first two on that are what's going to be covered by our panel members. The next three, I'm having Karen, my friend, she's the Encinitas Senior Citizen Commissioner. I'm going to have her come up, and she's going to share just real briefly about 3, 4, and 5, and how the city of Encinitas is helping you with that.
Good morning, and thank you all for coming. We're so excited you're here. So Christy spoke about transportation. Now, the most important thing is when we want to be active, we want to get to where we're going, right? So you have a form from the city that tells you about all modes of transportation. Please take a look at this. Also, it's really important that as you move about the world, you're comfortable. And for most of us, technology, raise your hand if you're a little technologically challenged. Okay, we have an opportunity for that too, which is a computer lab, computer tutoring, and you'll see some free opportunities. The library also has one
So those free opportunities that she's pointing out are in your guide.
are in the guide. So
Page 26, I think.
Page 26.
page 26.
So there's all kinds of free things for seniors.
These are all the things that help you, and especially with technology. Please don't be afraid of it. Make it your friend, because I had a very young person, 40 years old, that says, I'd like to go back when we didn't have technology. Guess what? It's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. So you really need to at least have someone to help you. And then it's about being active, staying involved, doing things, being fit. And fitness, we have also in the guide. That would be page 22. These are classes that are offered, some free, some small. It's really, really important that you stay fit. We had a fit opportunity. If you missed that segment, please review it. Then the final one that I think is probably more important than ever, if you have a concern about our city, the Senior Commission meets on the third Tuesday of the month at 2 o'clock at City Hall. You're welcome, you're encouraged. We want you to come and talk and let us know what it is that you have a concern about. This is your city, and the reality is we get to have a voice. The other thing with regard to having a voice and staying active is being out there. Do things that you like to do. And somebody reminded me that we have someone in our audience that shows that we can make a difference, that we are fit. The Grand Marshal of the Holiday Parade, Carolyn Cope.
Carolyn, stand up.
I've been coming to these classes since February, January, and it was the May class where it said how to live to be 100, and I saw Ruth Gaynor Ginsburg working on the weights and stuff. So I've been going to Every Time Fitness. Karen Levensoftful and her husband put the railings in my house, in all my bathrooms. So this is a wonderful program, and I'm glad to see that it's expanded this big. So see you at the parade or Friday at the lighting of the heritage tree at Moonlight Beach. It's going to be wonderful this year. And then the parade, and I'll be waving. Thank you, people.
And then also the city has a dance. There'll be information out there. This is how you stay fit. This is how you stay active. This is how you do what you're meant to do, which is bring your gifts to us. So thank you so much for being here, and thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Karen. Okay, now I know I had us all open up those books, but do me a favor, put it all away except for the page on Q&As. I don't want you looking through that because I don't want you missing one thing that our special panel has to offer. So my husband and partner, Rick, is going to be the moderator today, so I'm going to invite him on up here.
All right, up here. Good morning. Thanks again for showing up. I hope you'll find it worth your while when we're about done here. We were talking with a very good friend of ours, Lisa, and we were talking to Lisa about aging in place. And Lisa said, there's only one way I'm moving out of here, and that's toes up. How many in here want to follow Lisa's lead? Oh, that's close, all right. You know what? I'm supposed to be up here telling you nothing but the truth. And what I told you is, her name is not Lisa. And she didn't talk about toes up. She talked about another body part being up. And I want to let that go and go right to some government figures. I noticed a few of you had your hands up there. Government figures tell us that 77% of adults over 55 would rather age in place. So, now there's a 2020 report that estimates that only 10% of American homes are age-in ready. And I have some folks here on our panel that are going to help with that. Now, roughly 1/3 of adults over the age of 65 experience a fall each year. And up to 2/3 of these folks, those falls take place around the home. So, aging in place. Now, this option is not for everyone. If you're living alone, aging in place can be, well, lonely. And loneliness may increase due to mobility and transportation changes that comes with age. What Karen gave you here is the best we were able to do on transportation. I hope over the next few years we can come up with some other things, but right now, this is all we have. So, Ben, many senior adults said that one of their greatest concerns regarding aging in place is a lack of someone to make a social call on them. Last month, we did something about the mind, and we had a neurologist, and we had a couple of healthcare professionals up here, and they all told you that social isolation and loneliness are associated with increased rates of dementia, heart disease, stroke, anxiety, did I say dementia? And depression and suicide. Karen, again, gave you this, and I got to tell you guys something. When I first saw this stuff, I thought, there's no way I would ever be interested in this. I've spent some time at the memory care facilities, and the memory care facilities are doing exactly this with their patients. You've got to get your mind involved. You've got to be socially active. Once you listen to these folks enough, you'll find out that your brain is simply a muscle. And if you're not going to put it to work, it will stop working. However, they can get it working again. It just takes about 6 months of intense work. So how about trying just to develop a habit, to do things a little differently than you have been doing them in the past? Give your brain a chance to exercise. We're always told, exercise, exercise, exercise. Your brain's a muscle. There's not one machine at LA Fitness where you can exercise your brain. Not one. Other than maybe somebody walking around that you want to talk to for a minute. Let's see. Now, we have 3 professionals here. I'm telling you, aging in place, we probably got like 100 hours of research into that thing so far. But we only have an hour to go through all this stuff. So we're going to reduce a lot of things. Hopefully you will learn some new things. Hopefully we will learn some new things and be able to expand things in the future. So I'm going to ask my panelists to come up here and take a seat and a microphone, please. I got asked about this book last week, and I got to tell you, I've read it twice. And I got to tell you, you've got to take care of yourself. MDs are telling us that now. Read the book. All right, I'm going to ask each one of the panelists just to introduce yourself, your name, and your company, and what you do. And I'm going to start with, usually start with ladies first. I'm going to start with men first.
I'm so glad you said that. Finally, men. Something goes right for us. My turn. Hi, everyone. My name is Jonathan Schwartz. And Christy and Rick, thank you so much for having me back here. I've lived in San Diego for about 20 years and worked in the field of aging now for the entire that entire time. I have a company called Partner in Aging. And what we do is we help folks navigate the maze of aging well, who to connect to, the litany of resources related to help me find a caregiver, help me connect to vendors like Karen, and you'll hear what Karen does, to finding the right retirement community. But my passion is helping people age at home and age happy and healthy. So I'm excited to be here.
Great. Hold this close to your face, as close as you can.
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me now? Yeah. Excellent. My name is Karen Leventhal, and my company is called Seniors Choice, and we are a home modification company and do home accessibility consulting. And what that means is we go into your home and we do a little scan of your home and really look at the different parts of your home that could potentially be a problem, whether it could be a fall risk, whether the doors are too narrow, and make a plan though, and really be proactive in what we can do to make your home safe. Because everyone knows this, right? There's definitely no place like home. We all want to stay there as long as we can, and that's why I'm here to help you do that and make your home safe for you.
Close, Maureen.
Hello, I am Maureen Farley, and I'm with At Home Nursing Care. I am the community relations specialist, but I'm also the care liaison. And as a care liaison, I will come into people's homes and I'll do a free needs evaluation of like a safety check and overall needs of care. At Home Nursing Care allows our clients to live a better life at home through private duty caregiving and private nursing. And we also are Medicare certified, which allows us to provide home health services and skilled nursing in the privacy of your own home.
Great. Now I've got a few questions here that I think that you would probably ask these panel members, and I will be asking those. During that time, I'm sure you're going to have a question. Please write that question down. And when I get to just a couple of questions that I have here, then we're going to walk through the audience and you can ask directly. Okay? So here's the first one. Maureen, I'm going to start with you just for fun. What are the key factors that make aging in place a viable option? And how can we start planning for it?
So the key factors, in my opinion, is first, I believe that you all need to do some planning and budgeting and decide how much you're going to allocate for your care per month and have a very solid, budget for that. Because when the time comes to implement that care, you want to be able to be pretty focused in your search on what your budget is, because care does cost, a lot of money, and so you have to be prepared with a budget up front on how much you're willing to pay for your care costs up front. I also think that having someone to go in and do like a safety check of your home, and also, when you have someone to do the safety check in your home, they have to look at things like, are the pathways clear in your house? Do you have a plan to declutter your house in terms of moving different furniture or cords or throw rugs, replacing your knobs with levers. There's a lot of different things that I know Karen could probably get into more.
You're stealing my show here.
I'm sorry.
Well, Karen, you're next. Then.
Okay. Woo. Hi, everybody, again. I agree with everything Maureen was saying. I really look at things as there are 5 pillars to think about. You want to think about your healthcare, which these guys here can help you with. You want to think about your socialization, which Jonathan can totally help you with. And you want to think about your, so we said socialization. You want to think about your transportation, which I know we just spoke about that. There's lots of resources for transportation here in Encinitas. And you want to think about, there was a 4th one, let me think. Okay, so socialization, transportation, healthcare. Oh, your budget, good one, Maureen talked about that. Your budget is really important, and unfortunately, it's often the driver of what your plan's going to be. And then the final one, of course, is your house, which there are so many different things you could do to your house preventatively now before something happens. And that's going to be the whole message today is prevention is really the key to everything. Jonathan?
You have 5, Karen. And this is a national issue, I believe, but locally here in San Diego, I'm amazed and saddened by asking individuals, who do you have in your life that you could rely on if and when there's an emergency? If you had a fall, if you were hospitalized, who would be there to support you? And the sad reality is a lot of people either don't have someone or who have not identified that person. And I think, in my opinion, the biggest success, the biggest indicator of success to be able to age at home is, do you have a friend, a loved one, a family member that will be there for you in case of an emergency or just before then? And I encourage everyone here today to be that emergency contact for your friends and family.
Well put. Well put. Jonathan, I'm going to stick with you and then we'll come back down this way. But can you provide insights into creating a comprehensive age-in-place plan that considers both immediate needs and long-term goals?
Yeah, Rick, that's a really good question. And I give everyone here such tremendous credit. I mean, you're coming here as a proactive measure. And unfortunately, a lot of people who we receive calls from are in some emergency situation or need some urgent care. Planning from a financial standpoint, from a healthcare standpoint, always has better outcomes. And so I would encourage you and your families to have these unpleasant or difficult conversations, to share your wishes with your friends and loved ones on how it is you would like to age and how it is you'd like to age well. Because if you don't vocalize that to someone, to me, to a friend, a family member, it's who's going to know?
Go ahead.
Can you ask the question again?
Oh, sure.
Sure, sorry. I was mesmerized by Jonathan's answer.
What we're really looking for is everyone here is planning. So
Great job.
Can you provide insights into creating a comprehensive age-in-place plan that considers both immediate needs and longer-term goals?
I think it goes back to really doing a full assessment of all the different parts of of what we talked about. There's a workbook called Act 3 from the National Aging in Place Council, and you can download it on the website, and it's an amazing workbook that talks about the 5 pillars that I talked about, and it goes through all the pillars and what you should do to plan ahead. So I think that's a great tool for people to use.
All right, Maureen, you want to take a shot at this?
Was that Act 3?
Yep, it was called Act 3. It's the National Aging in Place Council. I think it's .org, NAIPC.
So I think that was very well put by the other 2 panelists. And I would agree that I'm going to emphasize again to create a budget plan for yourself, as well as a care plan. And just to touch on what Jonathan was saying, if you can, in your care plan, identify some people, it could be a neighbor, it could be a friend, that is sort of there to follow the wishes that you identify in your care plan. Some of the things that I like to recommend to people is that if you do have a family member or a neighbor that you can rely on, that there's certain, and we'll get into more of the techie things later, but there's certain things like on your, if you have an iPhone, there's something called Find My Friends, and you can connect with that person on your iPhone to make sure that, let's say there was a fall in your house, and you can't get in touch with that person that's fallen. You can check that Find My Friends app to make sure that the person's at home, and you can give your neighbor or that friend or family member a key to your home so that they have access to your home. There's just certain things that you can put in place, in your care plan to ensure that if there's an emergency situation, that you have a family member or a friend that knows how to get in contact with you, and the wishes that you would like them to follow in the event there is an emergency.
Great.
Could I jump in on
Please,
that?
go
That's
ahead.
a great point. One of the things I really recommend to people is getting a lockbox, sort of like what realtors use. Have a lockbox, not in a necessarily place that everyone can see it, but have it in a place that people who need it can get to it. So if there is an emergency, instead of 25 people having your key, you change the locks, you forget, whatever, put a lockbox there, and then people will have the code to your lockbox. And what I do, my little trick is I use the last 4 digits of my phone number, because everyone who's going to be accessing my lockbox is going to have those digits, and then they'll be able to enter and use the key.
And I guess I'll just end with, there are agencies out there that have care managers, and these care managers can create a care plan for you, and you can put down all of your wishes in that care plan. Make sure you have a safety plan in your care plan. There's also things that you could do in your home in an event of an emergency, like I don't know if any of you have heard of the Vial of Life. Anybody heard of the Vial of Life? Okay, so that could go on your refrigerator, and it's all your healthcare information. Sure. Is that better? Yeah. Okay. Okay. And then ooh, that's really loud. I think one of the things I also really encourage people to do is to fill out a pulsed form, and that's your wishes, sort of your end-of-life wishes and emergency wishes that you would put on your refrigerator in the event that emergency personnel comes to your home.
Could you spell that out?
That's P as in Paul, O, L, S as in Sam, T as in Tom. Oh, you know what? I actually have this is a pulse form. And this goes on your refrigerator.
Alrighty.
It's physician orders for life-sustaining treatment. Yeah.
Yeah, but you want that thing that somebody can get a hold of when you're on your way to an emergency room. Because the information that's in there, that the emergency techs will need, and the physicians that start treating you are going to need. Without that, they're going to decide what you're going to get, right? Great.
Your physician, I don't have very many of them, I can give you one. Yeah.
Also, the county, the San Diego County for Aging and Independent Services has the Vial of Life, so you can just get for free.
And you also should be, just call your doctor. They should have those things. You have a doctor, right? Call them. Tell them you need one of these. It'll work. All right, now we're going to have a little bit of fun. And we're going to start with Karen.
All right.
And what I'd like to do is just share with the audience some of the easy things that people can do to successfully age in place. Let's just go with the easy ones first.
Sure. Remove those throw rugs. Number one problem. Just throw them out, hang them up, make them art, whatever you need to do, but get rid of them. I call it the twist test. If you stand on the rug and do that old-fashioned dance, the twist, you guys all know it. I mean, if you can do it on that rug and it moves, get rid of it, because that means it's dangerous and you could possibly fall on it. Now, I've heard it before. I know I've never fallen on it before, so why would I fall on it now? And then that's when the emergency will happen. You'll fall, and that could be a potential hazard. So number one is throw rugs. Number two, I would say, is cords. Get your cords out of the way. That would really make a difference, so they're fall hazards. Even though, again, that cord has been there for 20 years. I know it's there. I'd never trip on it until the phone rings, the doorbell rings, the dog's barking, and you by accident trip on that cord that's been there for 20 years. That's something you can easily remove. And the third thing I would say is have a nightlight. Have a clear path from your bedroom to your bathroom or your common pathway. So that way you're not as disoriented at night there's a bug. When you get up, you'll have enough light to see where you're going. So really have a clear pathway.
Fantastic. Jonathan, you got any ideas?
So I think those are all great. I think there's three that come to mind for me. And Rick mentioned this early on. Health, and so eating vegetables in your refrigerator is really important, and fruits and beans. That's going to keep you at home for longer and safer. Exercise, whether it's exercise equipment in your home or at a gym. Stay strong, especially your legs, because falls are the biggest predictor of homes no longer a possibility. And then number three is something that's critical. You wouldn't believe it. It gets a lot of bad press, but knowing how to use technology, knowing how to use a smartphone, your computer, accessing the internet, that is, believe it or not just entertainment. It really can be life-saving. I think there's a few follow-up questions, and I'll share some examples later.
Okay. All righty. Getting back to just this falling thing. I wasn't going to bring this up, but I decided I'd do it. 3 years ago, I fell. I don't know how, but I do know that I spent the next 6 days in recovery. My best friend here just fell. Now she's got bolts in her hip. Think about it just for a minute. How many friends do you have that have fallen, right? Some of it is not so bad. Some of it is really bad. I mean, I thought of myself as an athlete at one time. I ski and stuff. To this day, I don't know how I fell. But I do know that I didn't like intensive care, and I didn't like being unconscious for days. Nobody knows how that happens, but it happened. So, what they're going to tell you about this stuff is a fact. You don't want to fall into it. All right. What I'd like to talk about, okay, since you brought up innovations and emerging trends, I'd like to stick with that. And I'd also like you guys, we talked about, I just learned about something called The Village. Anybody here familiar with them yet? The Village. If you look it up, Village to Village, you'll find it online. But what I'm going to do now is ask you three to do the best you can to explain to the audience The Village and any other emerging trends that you see coming up that we should be paying attention to as seniors. And I'll let you go first, Maureen.
Okay, well, our government has been anticipating this time with the aging population for a while now. There's something called the Master Plan on Aging, and San Diego has a master plan on aging on how to eliminate senior homelessness, provide accessibility to health care, and other things that concern seniors. This village movement is actually in its infancy stages right now. I believe it was started in Boston 20 years ago, right? But I mean, in California, it's just now kind of coming around. And I think in anticipation of this aging population with the baby boomers aging right now. And as I said, in California, it is in the infancy stages. I did write down their goal is to expand all stages of aging, empower older adults, and to sustain independence, remain in charge of their lives as they age. what I think is really interesting is that they are trying to change the language from seniors to older adults. That's kind of a change I see. That you're going to probably be hearing. You're probably going to be hearing that you're going to be referred to as an older adult rather than senior. So that's one of the main things. But
Heck, I'm an older adult.
that's right. Me too. Me too. Anyways, here in North County in Encinitas, it just actually they started meeting. I'd say maybe a year or so ago, and as I said, in the infancy stages. But they are looking for volunteers for this program, and I do highly recommend that you all try to look into the program because, I mean, they're going to need input from the older adult community, and who better would be able to give the input on the needs and wants of that community than the person themselves. So I think that you all should have some input into this program. The website is called villagemovementcalifornia.org. villagemovementcalifornia.org.
All righty. Can I go to Jonathan next? I've been cutting him out, Karen. And he knows stuff I don't know. Just this village idea or any other emerging trends that we should pay attention to and get in touch with.
The village movement, I think, is a nice tool to help people age in place. It's a nice tool for a community to engage with one another, to share resources such as, hey, I've got a hole in my roof, who do I call? And then the village could say, oh, I know a really good roofer or a plumber or someone that does home modifications. The village is a great tool to share resources within the local community. Have you ever heard of Nextdoor, that little app? That's sort of the village movement, but that's the technology platform. There's some good with Nextdoor, the app, and then there's some not so good. And it's kind of trending to more not so good now. But I think the main trend in aging in place and for older adult wishes are to create one's home into an assisted living community, into a hospital, into a recreational center, into a gym, and into a doctor's office. And I think we're now just on the infancy of seeing this all play out. And that's really my passion. That's how I can help I think people here in our community is how do you create your home into all the things that we need and want.
You want me to talk about the village movement? Yeah. Okay, so there is a village that's very successful here in San Diego in Tierra Santa. And the concept of the village is that it's neighbors helping neighbors. That's the basic concept. And it works well, from what I've studied, is when it's in a small community that's, it's difficult when it's like spread out, right? So there was a village trying to start up here in North County that I don't think was so successful because they wanted to cover a whole huge territory, a couple of zip codes. That's really not gonna, the concept of the village is really like next door, helping neighbor to neighbor. And it's volunteers, having a base of volunteers, so seniors or older adults, as you're calling them, and having volunteers as well as professionals. And you need that balance of having the volunteers. So then there is the way that you call the main number or the office of the village, and you could put in a request, and then they could put out the request to the volunteers. Mary needs a ride to her doctor. Can anyone help out at this time? And then they'll have a whole list of volunteers that can do that for them. So the concept of the village is really an amazing concept. And it's really, I mean, we all talk about it takes a village to raise a child. Well, it takes a village as we get older, and we just really need to lean on our friends and family and have that as part of our plan. So I think it's an amazing concept, but like Maureen was saying, it's sort of in its infancy stage here in San Diego.
This is something that you can watch happen. One of the things that's happened on the East Coast with this is it's a Delaware village. They're called Village to Village, but they're hooked up with the University of Delaware, and they have all the people that are studying healthcare are actually now working, taking care of seniors, so they can understand how that all goes together. They've been very, very And those healthcare workers, they're doing everything. They're doing bookkeeping. They're doing, not only the lawn, but they'll also clean the inside of the house. They cook. They do a lot of different stuff. Where hopefully that's where this is going to go. At least that's what I was thinking about. So now what I'd like to talk about is healthcare professionals. So we're going to start with Maureen. How do we go about selecting a healthcare professional?
Well, referrals are the best from friends and families. Somebody that your friends or family, has trusted in the past to refer a trusted caregiver or agency to do the care. If they had good success with an agency, it would be good to get a referral from friends and family on that. And I would recommend that you select an agency that actually provides referrals or recommendations on the people that they've worked with in the past, that they can give you names of like former patients or clients that you can call to see how their care went under that agency. Also under Medicare.gov, you can look up different healthcare agencies, especially like home health, home care, and hospice. They have ratings of different agencies under Medicare.gov. Also under the Department of Social Services, there's ratings of assisted living communities, and that website's a little bit hard to navigate. But if you get with somebody like Jonathan, he can help navigate like a website like that for you all.
Great. Jonathan, can you add anything to this?
Rick, are you referring to healthcare?
Well, healthcare. Let me just step out of that just for a minute. Jonathan, I know that you help with healthcare services, but I'm married, so I don't need a healthcare worker. I got a wife, so my wife is going to take care of my healthcare. And so that's where I'm going to head to. Do you have any opinion about that?
Do you mind if I jump in here? I get a lot of calls from family members. I mostly work with daughters and sons or spouses of that person, and they'll mention this. They'll say, "Well, we can do the care. We'll do the care, overnight or this and that." And my response to them all the time is, allow your family to be your family. When you take on a caregiving role, it changes the relationship of that dynamic. So by going through another caregiver or an agency, you're allowing your husband or your wife to be your husband and your wife, or your daughter or your son to be their daughter and son, and so it removes that sort of stress of caregiving, because caregiving is stressful.
I don't know if anybody ever gets this as the AARP bulletin. I mean, I'm not old enough to read this, but I get it sent to me. And if you have this, there's some little part here that they have a little report. Being a caregiver increased your level of stress by 68%, worry by 61%, 60% concern about the future. Hey, an increase in anxiety too, 57%. An increase in sadness and depression, 48%. Here's one, loneliness. Hey, we talked about that earlier, 38%. And 27% anger. Put yourself on the other side. Not the side being taken care of, but the side that's having to do the care. Because when you're doing that care, what have you given up? You had to give up something that you're not paying attention to because you're taking care of somebody. Plus, Christy's not a very good nurse. So I've had nurses. I prefer the nurses when it comes to health stuff. All right. Now, one of the things is people here are starting to think about costs, right? And I know you can't give them an absolute cost because you don't know who they are and you don't know what they're looking for. But could you give them an idea of if they needed, say, just some periodic care, somebody that would come by once a day for an hour a day, versus somebody that's going to have to be there 8 hours a day? And are those normal things in the healthcare field?
So our agency and most agencies have a minimum requirement of a 4-hour shift, and the reason why we do that is because we like to give our caregivers 2 4-hour shifts, which would make them have a full workday at 8 hours. So so the minimum of a 4-hour shift, and right now we're about at agency standards, which is about $42 an hour for 4-hour shifts. When you go up to 8 hours a day, it reduces the cost per hour at $38 an hour, and then when you go up to 24-hour care, it lowers the rate to $32 an hour.
Jonathan, can you help us with any of that?
I see some people saying, wow, and it is true. I mean, the cost of care is absolutely incredible. And it's not agencies that are being greedy, and it's not the caregivers that are getting paid too much. The cost to provide care is very, very high. It's a common myth that I hear is we assume aging at home can be less expensive than moving to assisted living. And if one needs a lot of care, though aging at home, it is truly a lot more expensive. Going through an agency is one option to hire care. What I started about 5 years ago through my company is we help people find individuals and private caregivers, and that cost is dramatically reduced. And some of the regulations on minimum hours is really between the older adult and the caregiver. So the cost through going through a private caregivers tend to start around $25 an hour. And it tends to be a bit more flexible. And there's pros and cons of going through both that we can certainly explain.
I'm going to change the subject again. Get back to something fun. Karen, what happens when someone's home just isn't going to work for them long term due to accessibility, stairs, bathrooms, etc.? What kind of remodel options do you guys perform, and is there more than one type of remodel as opposed to another?
Sure. There's lots of options. Can you hear me? Okay, good. There's lots of options you could do besides putting in grab bars, which is usually like the first step, is putting in grab bars. Sometimes having a ramp, just a little even threshold ramp, like when you walk up your step, it's just a little step, maybe 2 inches. Having a little ramp there might be something to do. But it's really important. Everyone's home is different, so I always invite people to really think about their house, think about when they walk in the door, what do they have to do? Is there a ramp up? Is there steps? Is there lighting? Once you walk in the door, is there a throw rug right when you walk in the door? A beautiful rug that you got on vacation, which I see all the time. Then there might be stairs, and there are things called stair lifts, which you can even rent if it's some kind of temporary situation, or it could be a long-term installation of a stair lift. And the big question, again, always comes back to cost, and there is a cost for doing these things. Insurance does not cover any of these things, just to let you know. So there are small things you could do. You could put a handheld shower in your bathroom. You could put a shower seat. You could put more lighting. You could maybe take out your tub and put in a walk-in shower. And that's I would say the #1 safety thing you could do in your bathroom, because that's where most falls happen, are in the bathroom, because it's the most dangerous place in your house. So I would say bathroom remodeling is one of the biggest things.
Great. One of the things that I did at my house was where the light switches are. Those stay lit all the time, the switch does, which is kind of cool when you're walking around at night.
Like motion activated, you mean?
No, they're just on all the time.
The light switch has a light.
Oh, got it. There's a night light in the light switch. Got it.
But anyhow, I knew something, so I threw it out there.
That was good. No, that was good. Lighting is like a huge thing that we don't think about.
Yeah.
And your house. How long have you guys lived in your house? 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. 50 years, your body's changed in those 50 years, and that's what we got to think about, is make your house meet your body and your mind.
Yeah, and the steps change as you get older too. Is there anything I left out that you guys could help the folks in the room with?
I just want to say this is an incredibly exciting time to get older. The massive amount of technologies that are here today and that will be here tomorrow is fascinating. You will have a lot more options tomorrow, next year, 5 years down the road than you have today. And technology means less expense. And so as the technology improves, as you adapt to that technology, you'll be able to age at home, happier, healthier, and for less money.
I was going to, definitely with technology, how many of you guys have heard of that pendant, I've fallen and I can't get up? You've seen the commercials, right? How many of you want to wear one of those? Right? Nobody, because that makes you look old. But they have so much technology when it comes to that now, that Apple Watches you can have with a fall detector. You can have a pendant, but it's not a necklace anymore, it's a bracelet. Those things are really, really important. They're called personal emergency response systems, and they are super, super important in fall prevention and aging successfully in place. This way, or having Amazon Alexa and just say, hey Alexa, I've fallen, and it'll call 911 for you. So those type of technologies really are helpful. You can use them to remind you of medication, so many different things you can do with them. So those are great technology advances. And they're not that difficult to use once you get someone to teach you.
Maureen, pretend that I'm a good friend and I'm sitting out there and I need to know something about healthcare, but I'm afraid to ask. What would you guess? Just grab that out of the air and just help everybody get more comfortable with the fact that this is true stuff.
Well, I spend my day with families evaluating their care. And there's nothing that makes me more excited when I go into a family's home and I see that they've planned well for their care. I walk in and they know exactly what they want, they know exactly how much they want to pay, and there's no questions about it. All of the family members are on board and informed, and it's just an easy turn the switch. I have a more difficult time convincing people what they need, and I get a lot of pushback when I make some recommendations that people aren't happy to hear. But
it's not just a river, I'm telling you guys.
So all I can tell you is that planning is everything. And the more you plan and articulate your needs and your wants and your wishes, the better off you're going to be in terms of people being able to do what you want at your end of life, or if you want to stay at home, age in place for the rest of your life. My mom is 89 years old. She's told me she does not ever want to move out of her home. We are respecting that, and we're doing all we can to keep her in her home. She's a pretty healthy 89-year-old, thank God. And I have to say that one of the things that she has done, when Jonathan mentioned it earlier, is that she moves. She moves all the time. Movement is life. If you can get out and join a walking club, and don't feel ashamed to use a walking stick. I know a lot of people are resistant to using walking sticks or canes. If it's going to help you move, I suggest that you get one. And so that's one thing. One last thing I'll say. A lot of times that people don't understand is there's a difference between home care and home health. And I don't know why it made them sound so similar. Home care is out-of-pocket expenses for the client. So if you want a private duty caregiver to come into your home, that's home care. That's paid for you out of pocket. Now, that's different from home health. Home health is paid for by Medicare. And the only way that you can get home health services is if you have a doctor's order. Typically, if you're discharged from a hospital or a skilled nursing facility and you go home with rehab, Medicare will pay for a physical therapist or occupational therapist to come to your home. They won't really pay for a lot of caregiving. People are surprised that Medicare doesn't pay for caregiving. Typically, it will be 1 to 2 hours a week with like an aide that will help you shower, but that's about it when it comes to Medicare coverage with home health. So just so you know, when you're talking to people, a lot of people get home health and home care confused. And when I get calls, a lot of time they say, well, wait a second, I thought that Medicare covered this. Medicare will only cover something that's skilled, that's recommended by the doctor, whether you're coming out maybe out of a hospital of a skilled nursing or an order written by a physician.
I'd say the biggest piece of that is that you are responsible for your health care. We all think our doctors are, but our doctors are doing your analysis really out of a book. It's not, all our bodies are different. Our metabolisms are different. That's why I didn't write this book, but I'll tell you, if you read what is written by a doctor talking about the things that he has problems with, and it's his job. He says, hey, look, it's my job. I've got to do that. But what you really want to pay attention to now, like Carolyn's doing, just take care of yourself. I mean, this idea, nobody's asking you to work out 4 hours a day. But just like Maureen said, you've got to move. You got to move. So, if that's all my questions. What? Go ahead.
I also wanted to say that because we were going to talk a little bit about technology, and we touched on it a little bit at the beginning, and I agree with the other panelists in that there's so many great things with technology. One thing that I would really recommend that you all do is get on your patient portal with your doctor. Does everybody know what I'm talking about? There's a patient, okay, good. I see a lot of, because unfortunately the way medical groups are set up right now, you used to be able to call your doctor's office and be able to like leave a message with a nurse. Now, typically with all the medical groups, you call like a call center and then you leave a message and then it takes a while for the doctor to get back to you. Now, if you go through the patient portal, you can usually ask a question to the nurse and get an answer on the patient portal the same day. So I'll just add to that by saying that if you do have a friend or relative that you trust with your healthcare, I would make your password and your login information accessible, like in a file, so they know how to access your patient portal, and that's where you'll get lab results and things like that, referrals and etc. So, just wanted to put that last plug in.
Thank you. Oh. There were a couple of cartoons. You guys can't see them, and that's not fair.
What it says is the guy's falling off the ladder. He says, Alexa, find help. And it says, Playing Help by the Beatles. One other, Rick. Whoops, sorry.
That's my favorite.
So you said we were going to age in place, and this is my place. And they're in a hammock. And then, Rick, you had that.
Oh, my neighbors decided that they're going to age in place. They've been looking for a home for over 15 years now. Because they wanted something with a bedroom downstairs. Now they're building it. That little piece of work, I guess, is costing a little over $600,000. So what you were hearing earlier is not expensive. So,
Could I say something? Actually?
Yeah, please.
Because we didn't touch on it. A big trend right now in the aging in place industry, in building, is really creating ADUs, accessory dwelling units. And those are like small granny flats. It could be a conversion of a garage. It could be an income producing thing for you to help fund your aging in place. I've heard stories where my friend's parents moved into the ADU they built, and she got the main house with her young kids. So that families are staying together more, if you like them. And if you don't, this is not a good option. But it's definitely a trend going on. And when you're building an ADU, you really do want to think about all the different things to make yourself make it accessible for aging in place. Widen doorways, walk-in showers, things like that. So it's a hot trend right now.
And in the city of Encinitas, they already have it permitted, so you just go to the planning commission, and they already have it permits. And actually, in the state of California, Catherine Blakespear, our mayor, who's now our senator, got it passed through the California state legislature for the ADUs too, so it's much easier to do.
And there's many companies out there, I know yours, there's many companies that build ADUs. So just like anything else, whether you're getting home care, hiring a contractor, anything, you want to get referrals, you want to talk to 3 different people and get their opinion, see if you like them. And I always say, trust your gut. If you meet somebody and they just don't feel right to you, don't use them. Don't try to like them. Move on to the next referral.
great. We're going to go to questions now.
Yeah, hi, I'm Richard. Thank you very much. I have a neuropathy. How do you get ADA registered? It's on this form here. And secondly, there's a patient portal. How do you access the patient portal?
The ADA registered, I'm not sure what that means.
It's on your transportation handout. It says ADA certified. Sorry, ADA certified.
Got it. That's for the city question.
That's from the city of Encinitas, gave us this flyer.
So you just call them? Okay. And secondly, what's you said a patient portal? Is that something you download, or what is that?
Do you mind me asking what medical group your doctor is affiliated with? If it's Scripps.
Kaiser.
Oh, Kaiser. Okay, yes, they do have a patient portal.
KP.org.
KP.org. And then you have to set up. You might have to go through like your primary care physician to send you like a link to attach to your patient profile. I'm not sure. No? Okay. I think you could just set up your patient profile by just going to kp.org.
One more.
Hi, I'm Sally, and at the very beginning, you talked about Encinitas providing technology tutors, and I thought you mentioned something in this Encinitas handout, but I couldn't find it.
I can answer that. Yes, we have the computer lab. We have some incredible little tutors, and I say little, but they're very big in their acknowledgement. We also, on Tuesday and Thursday, have special tutors. They will take you from start to finish regardless of your device. So if you have a Mac, an iPhone, come see them. And also you can go over to the library if you choose, but this is a little bit closer. Check the times, and they would be very, very happy to help you with that. I'm sorry, right here. And it's in the, as you come down the hall, it says, first room on your left, it says computer lab.
Thank you, Karen. The Encinitas County Library, it's amazing what they offer through there. And they do offer, they even at some point were offering computers where you could check out computers and like almost like you would check out a book, and they would allow like you to they would loan out their computers like a laptop.
And the library also has a new senior advisor, and I forgot her name, but go over and ask for Deanna. She will tell you anything that you want to know about the library and the new senior person whose name I forgot.
When I was working with memory care people, one of the things that we would run into was folks just not using their noggin anymore. Now imagine this just for a minute. I use this on my mother, will not use a computer. I said, well, how do you want things? She goes, well, like they used to be, you know, like the yellow pages. Came up with a great idea. I said, so, did you read the yellow pages or did you just know it was there? And she goes, oh, no, I read them. I said, but was there a time when you couldn't read, but there were yellow pages, right? She didn't like that story. But this is the same thing. Using a computer is going to teach you how to communicate with the outside world. Yeah, it's learning new stuff. Yeah, it's a pain in the neck. But you're going to be all alone if you're the only one that can't answer an email, that can't answer a text message. You don't be that person.
Hello? Is this on? Yeah, okay. My father-in-law used to run an IT group at Rockefeller University in New York. He's got dementia, and we haven't really touched dementia today, and I think that's very specific to all these things we've been talking about, because dementia and technology do not go together. My father-in-law can't even make a phone call. He can't operate a TV. He has no idea how to do this, and he used to run an IT group.
No, I agree with that.
Okay, so about a dozen years ago, we were helping my parents in the Bay Area, and they had a program, and we learned about actually several. One was through the fire department that came and assessed your home, and they did it without a charge, and they also included things like installing or access to installing the grab bars at no cost to seniors. Is there anything like that here in this area in Encinitas? They also had programs through Stanford too for helping the aging, so I'm not sure if we have anything parallel to that.
I think that Christy can answer that. With the Rotary Club of Encinitas, they do have a team of people that could come in and help. I'm not sure if they install your bars, but I would get in contact with the Rotary Club of Encinitas.
It's called the Home Team, and they are amazing. And I have had them do stuff. I have not asked about a grab bar, but I'm going to guess probably yes. So if you want, you can stop by. We can give you the name and number.
Also, Interfaith Services has a program that they'll do grab bars, low cost, as well as Jewish Family Services. Just depends where you live. And regarding the smoke detectors and things like that, you'd have to contact the fire department, but I don't think they'll install grab bars, but they'll do smoke detectors and carbon monoxide.
Okay.
I'd like to get back to the technology for a second. YouTube, if you can use that, has all kinds of resources. I mean, it's amazing what you can learn on YouTube. Two YouTube channels that I really like for technology, they're specific to Apple products, are Ellen's Tips for iOS and Rich Bolin. They both are geared towards seniors or older adults, and they go nice and slow. You can always stop it. You can go back to the beginning. They teach you how to use the Apple Watches that have the fall detection, crash detection if you're in an automobile collision, how to use notes, reminders, all of the Apple apps that are available, how to adjust the accessibility settings on your devices. So those are two that I find super helpful. The channels are Rich Bolin, Bowlin, and Ellen's Tips for iOS.
Thank you.
I wanted to show, I have this iPad with a keypad here, and I really like it. I think it's great for seniors. But you can sync it with your iWatch and your iPhone. A lot of times the iPhone is hard to see because the screen is so small. But you could sync it, your information on this iPad, and there's you can download all these apps like brain teaser apps. You can also download Uber. They do have a senior feature with Uber. So there's a lot of things you can access on like the iPad or the iPhone with some of these apps.
Hey, my question is pretty simple. I received a phone call yesterday from a friend of mine that was going into long-term memory care. The problem is that they end up in the hospital and now they can't walk. So the place they were taking her to, they can't take her. They will not take her. Is there a national organization that helps find a place to take people that are already past the point of if they can't walk in, they won't take them?
I can
So,
help.
is there a national organization that?
Well, locally, I can certainly help.
Pardon?
So locally, I can help. Are they in San Diego?
No, they're not local. That's the problem.
So there's different organizations out there that have that. I mean, Jonathan might know people wherever you're talking about, right? And there's also the National Aging in Place that I talked about before, NAIPC. They have different chapters all over the place, and you could go on their website, look at a chapter, and see if they have any care placement people.
So they don't have to call all over the place. They can go and call
And you could look-
NAIPC?
You could look on the website and see if they have a chapter. What area are you looking in?
It's Riverside, San Bernardino, Redlands area?
Yeah, so you can look in there, look at the chapter. You can get a referral for someone who's part of that chapter, but they're called care placement specialists.
I actually have someone up in Riverside that I know that I could probably give you their information. So, sometimes assisted living memory care is not appropriate for people, so that's why they don't discharge them back to these assisted living communities. But I don't know if you all have heard of boarding cares or residential care facilities for the elderly. They are able to take the more complicated cases, and personally, I think sometimes they're more appropriate because you get a better caregiver to resident ratio. Sometimes it's a 6-bed house with a couple caregivers and you get all your meals. But as I said, like assisted living communities, they can't take somebody after a certain level. But the board and care communities, and Jonathan, if you want to elaborate, if I left anything out there.
No, that was great. I mean, here in San Diego County, these homes in a residential neighborhood, there are hundreds of these boarding care homes, and more keep popping up. And they help people who need a lot of care.
Are they licensed?
They're licensed just like an assisted living or memory care community.
Sometimes they're even run by RNs. So.
I have a question. I work with many seniors, and could you tell the audience about long-term health care and how they provide in-home care for people that have the long-term health care?
Do you mean insurance, long-term health care insurance?
Long-term health care insurance, yes.
Long-term health care insurance is something that you should have purchased already. So if you have it, that's amazing. Every policy is really different. You have an elimination period most of the time that you can't access your policy until the elimination period has passed. It could be 30, 60, 90 days. Again, every policy is really different. It could last you, it could be a lifetime policy, it could be for 4 hours minimum, it could be a dollar amount a day, it could be long-term, there's all different levels, so there's not one cookie cutter answer for that. But if it is something you have, it can possibly pay for home care, and it can possibly pay for home modifications as well, but it's very rare.
I'm just curious, who here has long-term care insurance? That's great. What I've noticed, it's incredibly frustrating, is the long-term care insurance company, they make it really easy to pay the monthly premiums. You wouldn't believe it. They make it hard to actually get paid or reimbursed for that benefit. And so if you ever need any help on how to communicate to these long-term care companies, feel free to take my card. I'm happy to help.
I said this before, but when I go in to see a family and I see that they've planned well, that's another thing I did touch on today, that when I see that a family's planned enough to get long-term care insurance, that makes my job easy because, as I said, we know exactly the budget that we're working with the family. Also, if you are looking into long-term care insurance, or even if you have a long-term care policy, make sure that you get a policy that's adjusted for inflation, because a lot of times it is not.
I have a quick question. So one of the things, I started a little online folder of things I want to do at my house, and one of the things I found that was really cool is there's a toilet roll holder that's actually a grab bar. And I'm just wondering if there's other innovative things that are like that are good for aging in place, to help you up, and it doesn't look like the senior grab bars, things that are new and different.
Sure. There's a couple of companies that make those toilet paper / grab bar holders. They make also in the shower like a shelf that's a grab bar, and they also make a towel bar grab bar. So those are some, but there's not, honestly, that's really the limit of it. And then also they have but I should back that up. There's also nice handrails. So sometimes when you have a long stretch of a hallway and you're a wall walker, meaning you just have to touch the wall everywhere you go, having a handrail that's pretty and that matches your house is a great option.
The other thing that I'm liking seeing is the barn doors, instead of having to put a pocket door. Rick and I have a little bathroom, and you have to kind of maneuver getting in there, and there's no way you could get a walker in there. But now with the barn doors that they have, are there any other things that are similar that?
The barn doors are great. You just have to make sure you have space on the wall for the barn door. So same thing with the pocket door. You need the space in the wall for the pocket door. But there are different ways you can open and close the pocket doors now that they stick out more and they're easier than getting your finger in that little hook to pull it. So those are different latches and things like that.
And yet they have all these smart home features, motion activated lights and things like that, or or you can, a lamp that you can touch or clap. We always suggest that people keep a lamp right on their bedside that you can usually touch or clap to turn on and off. And another thing that for me, because I look at things from a home health perspective more, when I visit families, one of their biggest things is medication management. Just a lot of times people are on multiple medications, and it's very hard sometimes to organize medications. There's something called the Hero, which is an automated dispenser, and it will dispense medications at the time that is programmed into the machine. It's called the Hero, and it's really good for medication compliance. So I recommend that.
This isn't so much a question, it's just a suggestion, and this is the wrong group, but I'm going to put it out there anyway. I think there's a real need in our community for young kids who are tech savvy to go to a senior's home and help them hook up their printer, do all those kinds of things. So if you know any young people who are looking for some part-time work, they could probably charge $25, $30 an hour.
We also have a youth commission that are very tech savvy. And I know we keep talking about a lot about technology, but again, please make it your friend. Tom's sitting up there next to Carolyn, and Tom goes to the computer lab quite frequently and believes that it's really helped him in doing his thing. But there's on your phone, it's called My Encinitas. It's really easy to install. You click it and you can ask any question and it goes to the city. You will get an answer. It's simple. My Encinitas. So again, we've all talked about the computer technology is not going to go away. What Steve said is wonderful. And you know what? You probably have some kids in your neighborhood that would be more than happy to help you out, and then you can help them out. So good point, Steve.
Okay, I have two questions, and they're very specific. The first thing is, I really am taking the idea of planning. How am I going to plan for my home to be ready for me as I age, okay? And there's two things I would like to know. The first one is the bracelet that you talked about. Okay, where is the information that I can access so that today when I go home, I have a phone number to call, a person to call, something to take with me? That's the first question.
Well, let me answer that before you go on.
Okay.
So there's so many different companies, just like anything else in the world, there's so many different options. You have to find the option that's right for you. My suggestion, honestly, would be do a Google search and say top 5 companies or a comparison article.
What are the names of what is it called?
A personal emergency response system, a PERS.
A PERS? Okay,
PERS.
and that's it, and we Google it?
Just
and-
Google it, and the companies change all the time. They offer different things. Some have a monthly subscription, some don't. There's so many different options, so you have to find what's right for you.
That's very specific, thank you.
You're
And the
welcome.
other question had to do with the bathroom remodel, the tub and shower. Get rid of the tub. So the same thing, is the contractors, is there a list of contractors that specifically is more helpful to
Yes.
seniors?
Well,
that
there's
will
not-
help us get that done?
There's not a list. I'm one, first of all, so I could help you. But there's not a list per se, but you can ask for a certified aging it's called a CAP certification, certified aging in place. And honestly, there's not that many contractors out there that are certified aging in place. We were just talking before the meeting, and you were telling me about your contractor. You asked about getting doors widened or wider doors, and he said, I don't think they make them that big. Well, they do. Right? Contractors just don't know those things. They're not taught those things. They don't think about things that way. And even in contracting, you do have to plan it. Like if you're installing a new shower, you want to plan you're going to put grab bars in. Even if you don't put them in now, when they're building the shower, they need to put backing behind the shower to be able to install grab bars.
Thank you.
So I'd be
That's
happy
very
to help
helpful.
you, and I can give you some other referrals.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, that looks like it would. Could we give our panel a hand, please? Great, thanks again. We'll be here next month.